This is this is story time, and it's basically me sharing about what happened when um I was I got to meet somebody, one of my people, one of my connections, and I wanted to share how I felt, what led up to it, and what happened, and then how I felt afterwards. So I'm hopeful this won't be too long, but if it is, for those on my TikTok, you can go follow me on YouTube, and or at least go watch this video in the entirety. I'll do whatever I can before that in the 3 minutes I have on TikTok to hopefully let you know what all you'll be missing and all that. Okay, so basically what happened was I started sharing my headshots and like the different stuff that I had from when I went on my last session, my last photo shoot in New York this past May. I basically had a couple of my headshots. You can just set it there, honey. I had a couple of my headshots edited professionally, and like four of them. Four of my headshots was professionally edited out of the lots that was taken, and I chose two, and my manager chose two, and we put it on my stuff and everything, and I shared it to all my different social media sites because I'm like that. Like, I share everywhere. I'm like everywhere's. And basically, yeah, so set it over there. I won't be eating that. And basically, what happened was this woman was on my LinkedIn, and she was very interested sounding in my headshots and in the whole acting and modeling thing, and I basically just thought she was just a basic woman who was just intrigued and wanted to know more about it. She started talking to me, and then we private messaged for a while. Not long after, I had told her that I was eventually going to move to Los Angeles because I still am. I don't know exactly when I plan to, but hopefully before the end of the summer for sure. But I do plan on still moving there. That's the plan. And we've been taking a lot of steps towards showing that we can do things like that, and showing that we can be in a more expensive area and still be okay. With we had a couple hiccups, but overall, we've been doing well. And planning, I plan a lot before we do something, like a lot. You guys have no idea.
Yeah.
But yeah. So she basically was interested in that, and she wanted to meet up with me. She told me, we should get together and hook up before I moved to Los Angeles, which I was like, I was kind of like flattered and honored. Like, I thought it was a cool thing. Like, she's this excited person about this stuff and everything. And I took it as just, she just was into that too. Maybe she was a connection. I also had in my thoughts that maybe she was my twin that I still believe I have, but I don't think she was not her. But I'll get to that eventually. But yeah, I thought it was possibly her as well, or something to do with her. Which did come out when we were sitting with her talking. It came out that I had thought a certain thing of her. Yeah, that I thought she was a catfish. She actually realized that, and she's very good at picking up on certain details. Like, she has some training of some kind. I don't know what, but she does have training to pick up on slight things that is said, or feelings that people have that you don't say, but you can feel it. Like, somehow she can, at first I thought, okay, maybe she's just empathic like me, but I think she actually has skills for that. And I'll explain why later. But, there's a couple of things I did learn before I actually met with her that helped me to actually be with her in that moment and kind of keep that in the back of my head, what I had learned. And that's another reason I started really thinking she was somebody that I was going to see, my twin when I stood out of the car. There was going to be someone that looked exactly like me, and I was going to be so freaked. But it didn't end up being that way. She was exactly the same person, but, which I'm thankful too. She's cool too, but I do still wonder motives. And that's what really is making me wonder about her and who she's connected with. So unfortunately, I really wish that it even was her in a way, but I don't think that I was talking to who I thought I was talking to, and I don't even know if that's her name was the person that she said. I don't really know, but part of me doesn't know if that is truly who she is. Sad to say, but I try to see the best in people, but I do believe that there are sometimes things you can feel about somebody. Basically, we met at a little place you can eat. I'm not going to list where it was or anything like that. I don't want to list particulars too much. But it was just a nice little spot to eat food. And it was really, really close to us. And that was another thing that started getting me a little itchy, because she was so close to where we live. It made me really how? Of all the places. And at first it was going to be even a little bit further away, but then she changed it last minute. And it was right, almost within 5 miles away. It's 4 or 5 miles from where we live. And I was like, how, of all the places in Detroit, would she pick something 4 or 5 miles from where we live? That's what got me curious as to how she knew, exactly the spots. We weren't even supposedly in where she lived or was from. But supposedly she acts like she worked, almost right next door to us. She works over there, is what she was saying. So, basically, that's why she chose that spot. But I'm I don't know. I really don't know. That seems way too coincidental that she would have chosen that spot. And that's what got me into believing that there was something about her that she knew things about me. And she did. She knew a lot of things about me personally, and things that was said that was focused on, apart from the stuff that I myself started focusing on, because I do that. If I'm in the moment, I'll focus on certain things. I noticed that certain things I would start saying, she would more listen and pay attention than other things that I was said. And then, certain things she shouldn't have necessarily known or felt as guilty about as, that she did. And that's why I was why would she, I understand, certain things, and I was emotional at one point on the email, so I do understand why she got in that, but somehow we stuck on a certain way, when I was talking about the government involvement in my life, and I wasn't trying to make her feel like I was saying a certain thing, but I think she felt guilty from it because of what I've said in other times.
If she was there and for a false pretext, she's more in the wrong than we are.
That's why I'm thinking that she was saying that in the first place. That's why I think she stayed on that subject. Kind of didn't want me to not keep thinking about certain things and to move on, which is what I got from what she was saying. I know she was trying to make it seem like she wasn't trying to be rude about it, and maybe she wasn't herself because she probably doesn't really care. She doesn't really know me that way. And in one conversation, somebody can't get so emotionally connected to somebody that they feel that strong toward them. You can feel for somebody, but there's a difference. if you feel for somebody and if you like are so emotionally invested feeling for them. And I think that's the type of feeling I got from her. Like, she was that strong about it. Like, she was there. Almost. Like, she was somehow involved. And at one point, I was crying, as I always am. I get emotional. I'm just an emotional person. It doesn't mean necessarily, like, life or death, but I was emotional. I cried. And she had this look on her face, like, really empathy, real feeling for me. And I was, like, very touched and moved by that. But it was in that moment where I couldn't snap myself out. Like, that's the problem with me. I try to do it, and I try to snap myself out of a situation, and I can't. And I think that was my downfall, and that's why I said way too much to this person that I didn't even know, except through online. And that actually was one of the points that she was trying to make to me, was that I'd say too much online, and that I said way too much to her in email, and she was concerned for me. But in the same sense, like, why take it out of your whole day? You know, why take a whole evening, which we spent like a couple hours there talking? Why spend a couple hours just to come down and tell somebody that they should be more careful on the internet? Like, why not just say that to me on an email? Or, like, one moment we were talking about our modeling stuff, and she was showing me her pictures, and I showed her some of mine, and she wanted to see them. I ended up giving her some of them. But, like, even that, like, we could have just stayed online and just done it like that, like I do with most people. I just didn't understand, coming from that perspective either, what we were, like, why we had come out of our day to do that. Like, I just didn't see the point, I guess, other than certain things that I'm going to explain in a little bit. But there really was no other point. Like, we got off on the modeling thing, like, within a certain amount of time. The rest of the time we sat talking about my problems. And in particular, my past involvement, like my childhood, which everybody in my whole life and world likes to sit there and have me on. But, I mean, that gets me emotional. The most emotional than anything. So she saw a lot about me that was vulnerable. She witnessed a lot of what I've said. Which a lot of this, you know, it's not top secret. It's stuff that probably she could have just heard on other things. But I think that she was recording it. I have an odd feeling in my gut that she had an earpiece in her, and that she was actually wired, tapped, or something, and she was actually recording our conversation. And that's really where it makes me irk. It makes me very on edge, and it makes me feel violated. And, like, if that's true, then that means that the government is still watching me.
Or she's watching for somebody.
Or they're watching for someone else. But I have a feeling it is associated with also the government, because they have been involved. And I believe they're the reason why my St. Mary's thing was taken off. I told her a lot of stuff, like how I feel about the government involvement in my life and this and that. How about St. Mary's and what they've done with Yelp. I told her so much stuff that literally now the government has on tape. So if that was true, and at one point she was talking to somebody, I don't know if it was the actual, like, phone conversation, or if she just was stopped talking and she was just talking to somebody that was on the other side of whatever she was recording. Like, it was weird, people. It was, like, government type stuff. And I was like, at first I was like, I thought she had a Bluetooth thing on, but no, it was a different looking type of headpiece, like, very small. Like, one of those things that you'd have, like, somebody would just wear when they're being wiretapped, but generally they don't show any of it, so that was kind of odd. But Maybe she just assumed we would think it was a Bluetooth because most people probably would these days.
Yeah, but Bluetooth are big enough, you can see them right away.
And it was just really like awkward because somebody interrupted while we were talking, and we just like I just didn't know what to do. I just stopped and like let her talk, but it was like odd. Like the first thing she said, "Oh, it's just some scam," and then later on she started talking, and I was like, okay. I didn't even hear it ring again. I just heard it ring that one time, or saw it do something, and then later on, and she looked like she put it off and everything, and then later on, she was talking. So I don't know. I really don't. I don't know what's going on, but it was weird. It was the most odd thing, and it kind of made me hesitate to some degree. I noticed that when we first got there, she was already facing us, and she was already sitting in a spot that most of the time Isaac would have liked to sit in. He doesn't like being his back to anybody. And he ended up sitting on the side where his back was to everybody. So he didn't really like that from the get-go. She was very observant, and she would look over at Isaac periodically too. And it was like she was trying to read us. And it felt really odd for somebody just only wanting to talk to me based on connections. It felt very like, almost like we were being interrogated to some degree. I know she came with probably an agenda, and she wanted a certain amount of information. She basically had us get, we all kind of decided to get something to eat. And I think that's when she felt we would be more relaxed.
Anybody who comes with a false pretext is in the wrong.
And I did start helping me open up. But it doesn't take me a lot to open up. I'm more open than some people. Honestly, most of what she was going after, she probably could have gotten just on emails. But I don't know, maybe she wanted me to say it physically, like with my own mouth. Maybe that's what she needed, not just an email. So I'm hoping that that's not what this was, but I have a weird feeling because I have yet to hear from her, and before she would talk to me more. Now it feels like she doesn't want to talk to me anymore since then. And I feel like, okay, wow, so she got what she wanted, and I don't know what that was for. Like, I really don't, but I felt weird from the get-go, because I don't even know this person. And she became very friendly, and made me feel like I can trust her. And I opened up, and it possibly was my mistake. And I hope that it wasn't all bad intentions. I hope that it was just some person that just is that way. But for right now, I don't have any other reason to believe that way, because she didn't really say anything else than that. And then we just left, and that was that. And it was the weirdest, like, feeling later on. I really haven't said anything to her either, but I don't know. She just usually was the one that would sometimes say things, and she was the one that kind of contacted me in the get-go. So, I mean, I'm not the one that contacted her first. She just said stuff on my things, and then I started saying things, but she was the one to say it first. So obviously she had the motive to doing it, and she was the one that wanted to get together before we go to California. But now she does know that I'm moving. That's another thing I worry about. Like, is the government really truly following me? Are they wanting to know where the freak I go every second? It's like, they could just watch me. Why would they have to, like, confirm it with me in person? I just don't know. And it makes me very on edge because of things that have happened, things that have been happening, and I don't know, I worry about how things are going to be. At the time, I really felt good about her, and I felt she was I could open up. I had moments where I felt a little odd, but I let it go and I trusted. And then later on, I started thinking through everything. That's when I kind of did that introspection, and I had that feeling, like, why would she have said this a certain way? Why would she be focusing on certain aspects of what I was saying and not the other things? Like, we should have been there more about the modeling and acting and headshots, and that's what she wanted, but it was mostly, like, if she really was there for the other support, then she could have just, most people, if they don't know somebody, they're not going to listen to a whole story incomplete, they're going to be like, well, I need to get going, da-da-da-da. Instead, she had us we ended up eating food and then sitting there and talking more about it. And in fact, when I was one of my emails, she said specifically that we could talk about that certain things that I was getting all upset about in emails even. And she was saying we could talk about it more when we're in person. So I almost think she wanted me to talk about all of that. She wanted me to talk about my childhood issues and all the feelings I have about, what's going on. And yeah, if she was sitting there recording it, that's really wrong. And it's a violation. I didn't ever give, her okay to record me.
We were on the pretext it was just supposed to be casual get together.
Yeah, so if that's ever used against me, then you know what? I will try to get an attorney to counter sue. Like, that's what I'm gonna do. For real. Because, I'm not gonna do that. I mean, I have nothing, I'm not trying to have anything against her, but I just feel a lot of things was just really didn't feel right 100%. And yeah, we look into a lot of people. Like, if you have your email or your phone number or whatever you are on social media, don't be surprised if people know a lot about you. I don't be surprised. Like, you can just put somebody's email address in at Spokio or Ben Verified, and you'll get a lot of information on anybody. So, it's legal, and anybody can do it. It's not rocket science. But yeah, saw a lot of stuff, and one thing, she is following the Secret Service on Twitter, which I found really, unsettling at first. I was like, what the heck? Like, does that mean she's part of the Secret Service or what? Like, she doesn't even follow that many people, and she's not very active, but she follows a lot of people that are officials and that have some kind of power and authority. She seemed very authoritative and very confident in how she talked, and everything she said really had, a specific meaning. She wasn't like me at all emotional or caught off guard. She was very good and composed. And she made it, whatever she said, it felt like she was saying it for a specific reason. Meaning that she was very versed in how she was going to approach it. It wasn't just we just happened to be going into conversation. Some people are that good at leading a conversation, and they'll just say it and it will flow. And then that they take authoritative over it. If that happens and you're emotional type like me, you just get drawn into it and you go wherever you go, and I can't help that sometimes because I have alters that come out, and a lot of them want validation, and I can go into it with my mentality that I'm sitting with you right now, and I can be trying to talk, and then all of a sudden, with no other apparent reason, I'll start getting emotional, and something else will be said, and I won't have even meant to say it. Like, I'll go in with a certain way I was going to be. I've done that with my family and other people, and yet, by the end of the time, I'm, sobbing. I don't do that well. I can't control that part. And no matter how much I try, like, I can't. And that's one of my letdowns and my flaws that I have. So that's how people can work and play on me. And they get information that they want and they use it against me. And that's how it's always been. I'm a very honest person. And naive to some degree. And that's how she saw me. She saw me in that way. She basically knew exactly what type of person I was. And it felt like she just knew me. Like nobody else knew me. She just knew who I was and focused strictly on me. And I don't know, I don't really know what I feel still. 100%. I don't know what all was intended, but I guess in time will tell. And if all of a sudden I start having other people on my stuff, then I'll know. But for now, I do have that odd feeling that she's still, that's how it is. That's my thoughts, and that's how I'm always going to feel. You know, when it came down to it, I look back on it, and that's how I saw it. In that moment, I was a child, and I just said what I said. When I came out of it, I can look back, and I can look back with my regular eyes that I have. My regular emotions are gone, you know, not as bad there. I'm not as emotional. And I can see for what it was and remember what things were said, because I still sometimes can remember things that are said. But it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense why she even wanted to get together just for that. I mean, even if I had thought at one point maybe she's a fan of my headshots, and that's obviously not just it. So I don't know, but I know that somebody wanted to meet me. She met me, and I don't think I'll ever do that again.
No.
To tell you the truth, like, I'm not gonna keep meeting people because I'm not. Like, that's the last time. I'm sorry, people, but I can't do that anymore. I just can't. So anyone else that asks, unless it's like a real, true business thing, and they usually will go to my manager, then I will understand. But as for just coming to me personally like that, it's just no.
Lisa,
I just don't feel. Yeah, we don't know if it's her real name or if it's even her, who she is. Like, I don't know. So that's my thoughts on it. It was what it was. I still don't understand. You probably won't. I know I don't. Isaac kind of doesn't really. So
I just don't trust the person.
we just have our.
At the time we opened up a more than we should have, but yes.
We have our reserves, and he's looking through it through military tactic, and I'm looking through it through someone who's been already hurt and abused. So I don't trust all the way, but I do have parts that do trust all the way. So my part, though, that I'm in right now, I don't trust. Like, yeah, I have a hard time trusting people. It's my younger parts and my younger alters that do that. So my regular self, though, no. I have my like walls up a lot of times, and I always wonder people's motives. A lot. I'm kind to people and I'm polite as much as I can be, but one other thing she did say that was kind of a little odd, I thought. I wasn't sure at the moment, but it was like weird. She was like, "Wow, you're really small." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm small. I'm only 5 feet." And I don't know if she came in with this thought of what I would look like already. Like, obviously, she's seen my headshots and my other stuff online, but, I mean, you can't tell how big a person is, but I did put some of my stuff does have my height, but not everybody probably sees every little thing. But yeah, I'm only 5 feet. I'm pretty short. Like, I don't know if she thought because I was into that industry that I would already be that certain height. But she thought I was way small. She made a comment on it. Or maybe there was somebody else that looks like me that is tall. And she was like odded feeling that I was so short. Because maybe my twin is tall.
If you have a twin, she might be taller, yeah.
Maybe because when I was little, my birth mom would give me coffee. She called it mud. It's straight up coffee, black. She put sugar sometimes, like sugar in it and stuff like that. But she also put alcohol in it. No, she also put coffee in it. She gave me coffee straight up. And I would drink coffee with her sometimes too. So with she would also put alcohol in, stuff like that. So I think sometimes that's what she did to help me not to be so, wild, or not have as much control over myself when I was being raped.
Which is surprising,
which is
a little child wouldn't be able to fight back that well.
No, but you'd still kick and scream if you're being hurt like that.
Yeah.
So they wanted me subdued totally. So when I get into my little ways, people, that's usually because that part comes out when I get booze in me. That little altar part of me that is stuck at that level, she comes out, and that's associated with alcohol because they put alcohol in me before I got raped. That's the whole thing. But I almost wonder if because I drink like coffee when I was a little kid, maybe that is true, the old saying that it stunts your growth. Maybe it's true. Maybe she's taller because she actually was raised, she only was with Ruby or Margaret for a year or so at most. And she was removed, and they didn't just give her coffee. She didn't stay doing that. I did for 4.5 years. So maybe that old saying is true. And maybe I would have been taller had I not had that.
Well, Ruby took care of you better.
And maybe, because I wasn't taken as good care of in 4.5 years. And she might have been and given the proper nutrients. That might have been a difference. And maybe I would have been taller people. So you never know. Your first years of your life are so freaking detrimental and important. So, yes, take care of your kids, because that could be the difference between being shorty like me and possibly someone taller. Another possible theory or thought is that, twins can look alike, but, we had the same genetics, but maybe I got more Ruby's height and she got our dad. That could be. So we wouldn't be identical, then we'd be paternal. Because she'd be taller than me. But she still looks enough like me that people mistaken me for her. So
yeah, we have families saying that.
We've had a lot of people say things, but I'm surprised that they wouldn't recognize the height difference. If she is taller. Or maybe she's just a couple inches, but that woman thought it should be like a couple inches taller or something. I don't know. It was just a weird comment to make to somebody that you just met. Like, I could understand if you would, if you didn't ever see the person, and you'd be like, oh, wow. Or if you hadn't seen them in a couple of years or something, you see the person and you're like, oh, wow, you're shorter than I remember. Or you're taller than I remember. You gained some height or whatever. You'll make a note about it. But generally, like, if you don't know what the person looks like in real life, like, I wasn't sure what she would look like, so I wasn't gonna say, like, oh, wow, you're, like, the certain height, It's just something that she said that I was, like, a little bit, it kind of confused me at first, because it's usually something you say to somebody when you know who they are. It's not something you just say to someone you just met, because, of course, you're not gonna know how tall they are. You're not gonna know that. It'd be like a complete stranger coming up to me and being like, oh, wow, you're real short. Like, yeah, I'm short. Everybody tells me that. I'm small. Yeah, I know on the cell phone, everybody, I know I look different. If you saw me in real life, you'd probably say the same thing. Everybody does. I'm used to it by now. I'm always used to being told I'm short.
Yeah, well.
I'm not as short as my birth mom. I'm short. But anyways, that was the video. If anything happens in the future, I'll let you know, or I'll say it on some of my stuff. But for now, I just kind of cough it up as it was a surreal moment, an odd moment, and one I wanted that I hope that I'll only have once in a lifetime. Meeting somebody that I don't really know, and actually meeting them. It's not. She wasn't really a catfish because she was actually herself, and she didn't leg on and try to like not meet up and stuff. So I wouldn't say she's a catfish. I would just say she's like. I mean, she might not be really still who she says she is, but for right now, I can't judge that. But yeah, I don't know. So that's it, everybody. And until next time, I hope that you're having a great evening and stay loved.
And remember, this is by Tide.
Thanks, Tide. Bye. See ya.